And that's healthy, right? You want them to change and move on. Who am I to say? I'm still fighting to save Sex in the City. I'm not sure it fits me anymore either.
So close to the point. And yet, you still missed it. Guess what? I got my second wind and I made myself watch season 2 of And Just Like That. And I can say that I'm surprised, both pleasantly and unpleasantly. Season 2 of And Just Like That attempts to course correct after a rocky first season. And while there are improvements like better pacing, a cheekier tone, and more cohesive scenes, the show still suffers from deeply rooted issues that prevent it from capturing the charm and emotional depth of Sex and the City. At its core, the series feels like it is trying to recreate magic with mismatched pieces, forcing nostalgic callbacks and underdeveloped new narratives into a show that lacks both the wit and sincerity that once defined its characters. So, in spite of how reluctant I was at first, I watched And Just Like That, and here are my opinions about it.
And just like that, I repurposed my pain.
Carrie Bradshaw's return to dating is supposed to signal emotional growth, but instead it feels regressive. Her arc circles back to familiar territory: Big, Aiden, and the old apartment, making it seem like she hasn't moved forward at all. Carrie hasn't truly evolved, she's just being polished. What's framed as maturity often feels like a repetition. Her decision to go back to Aiden for a fourth attempt at love is especially baffling, considering how painfully their previous engagement ended. We have to remember that she once vomited at the sight of the ring he bought for her. And now, after all these years, we're asked to believe this is a fresh start? Asking viewers root for a relationship we know it's doomed for the fourth time is less romantic than it is tiresome. Aiden's refusal to enter her apartment for most of the show should have been the final red flag. That Carrie is willing to wait 5 years for him at the age of 56 feels more like a scriptwriter's nostalgia than a genuine character choice. And if it was a character choice, it just comes to show the lack of growth Carrie actually had in spite of how it's been framed by the writers. The show tries to frame her composure and emotional restraint as maturity, yet when juxtaposed with the chaos unfolding in her friends' lives, it comes off as the writers propping her up at their expense. I've heard so many people refer to Miranda as a new Carrie after the whole Che incident, signaling that the emotional volatility she suffered from has been amplified in Miranda as to not make Carrie look so bad in comparison. And I know I have mentioned this already on the season 1 video, but I really miss her voiceover so much. Some of the most quirky and creative writing on the series was shown in there.
The new me. Best me ever.
No character has suffered more from And Just Like That's clumsy reinvention than Miranda. Season 2 continues to portray her as erratic and unrecognizable. Her obsessive, all-consuming relationship with Che mirrors the toxic dynamic Carrie had with Vic. Only this time, it lacks the emotional foundation to make sense. Miranda gives up her life, her marriage, and her principles for someone she barely knows. A person who later publicly humiliates her, pressures her into uncomfortable sexual experiences, and belittles her emotional needs. This isn't a critique of Miranda's queerness. It's about poor writing and a character being bent out of shape to fit a shallow, forced arc. Miranda once embodied reason, independence, and pragmatism. Now she apologizes for everything, allows herself to be walked all over, and is written into a corner. Her breakup with Che, while inevitable, felt like a rushed cleanup. Like the writers realized too late how unpopular Che has become and scrambled to hit reset. Steve and Miranda's confrontation was long overdue, but its execution felt brutal and lacking in empathy. Steve may have been honest, but it wasn't necessarily cruel given their shared history. While Miranda was wrong to cheat, the handling of the aftermath reduces the layered relationship into simplistic blame that left both of them unsatisfied and with a resolution that felt rushed and on a constant but frustrating tone initiated by Miranda. Again. As much as I support Miranda's decision to explore her sexuality, I wonder why she's now exclusively dating women. I understand she married Steve for the wrong reasons, but it doesn't mean she didn't have sexually and emotionally satisfying relationships with men before. If anything, the relationship with Che would be a way to anchor that sexuality into a more cohesive way instead of just completely erasing her attraction to men.
So I need your help and your support, not your words of help and support.
Unlike her co-leads, Charlotte's storyline in season 2 feels like one of the few truly earned progressions in the show. After years of being a devoted stay-at-home mom, Charlotte finally decides to return to work in the art world, a space that once defined her before she chose motherhood instead. This choice isn't framed as a desperate reinvention, but as a natural evolution. Her children are growing up, her family is stable, and she has earned the right to reclaim parts of herself. This transition is particularly refreshing because it subverts the role Charlotte has conformed to for decades. She has always embodied traditional femininity and domestic ideals, but now she seeks balance between family life and self-fulfillment. Her decision to set boundaries, telling her family she's off duty when she gets home, is a beautiful commentary on women reclaiming space after years of invisible labor. However, Charlotte's parenting storyline isn't without flaws. Lily and Rock often come across as ungrateful or bratty, particularly Lily, whose abrasiveness towards her mother feels unearned. After Charlotte braves a snowstorm to buy her condoms, Lily's lack of appreciation is jarring. It undermines the strong, nurturing relationship we've come to associate with Charlotte as a mother. Despite this, Charlotte's maturity and emotional intelligence continues to shine through. Her support to her entire family, her thoughtful approach to family dynamics, and her quiet determination to evolve show a kind of nuanced growth largely absent in the other leads. She's still the emotional core of the group, even if the show fails to center her as often as it should. Season 2 gives slightly more screen time to characters like Naya, Lisa, and Seema, but still fails to provide them with well-developed arcs. Naya's decision not to have children is one of the most compelling adult dilemmas presented in the show, yet it is brushed aside. Lisa's surprise pregnancy and miscarriage right as her career is taking off could have made for rich storytelling about ambition, motherhood, and identity. But again, the show barely scratched the surface. Seema continues to feel like a placeholder for Samantha. While the actress is strong and the character has flair, her dynamic with Carrie feels natural in their flow but forced upon us, especially because we see Seema interacting mostly with her, and not much with anyone else. And her subplot, Too Afraid to Fall in Love, feels recycled and thin. The emotional unavailability once carried with charm by Samantha is now split between Seema and Anthony without the same sparkle. Che remains, and just like that most glaring misstep. Introduced as a bold, progressive voice, they quickly devolved into one of the show's most frustrating, unlikable characters. Che pressures Miranda into sexual situations she's not comfortable with, manipulates her emotionally, and then publicly humiliates her by turning their failed relationship into comedy material. The show attempts to protect Che through meta-commentary and in-universe critiques, like the focus group situation. But these only draw more attention to how poorly conceived and executed their character is. Because to be honest, you can't help but agree with their detractors. The reality is, no matter how hard the writers try, Che lacks the charm, warmth, and depth required to carry such a prominent storyline. Their relationship with Miranda feels rushed, chemistry-less, and ultimately damaging for the community they were trying to empower.
Who's Samantha? This is Annabelle Bronstein. I'm from India.
Season 2 is undoubtedly better paced than its predecessor. The women go out more, the tone is cheekier, and the show feels more alive. These improvements give, and just like that, a bit more energy. But even with the upgrades, it still leans too heavily on nostalgia and not in the right spots. The most obvious example of this is Carrie's return to Aiden. Again, instead of charting new emotional territory, the show rehashes old romantic plotlines rather than creating fresh ones. Che's exit too feels less like a natural conclusion and more like damage control, especially when considering how outright cruel they were to Miranda. It's a departure that doesn't land emotionally and leaves a trail of unresolved tension. Meanwhile, the group itself remains oddly disconnected, and not just the newly added characters. The core cast also feels more distant with each episode. Even when they are in the same room, the complicity and intimacy they once shared is missing. The warmth of the original foursome just isn't there anymore, and despite the show's efforts to reunite them, their friendship no longer carries the same emotional weight. This growing distance is not helped by Carrie, who continues to prioritize men over her friends, a habit we had hoped she'd grown out of by now. Season 2 of And Just Like That is undeniably more watchable than Season 1. It finds a better rhythm, offers some emotional highlights, and attempts to repair some of the damage done to beloved characters, but it still doesn't know what kind of show it wants to be. It is a continuation of Sex and the City or a reinvention. Is it about the messiness of midlife or just another nostalgic reboot with new characters attached? Too often, it opts for surface-level representation, shallow reinvention, and safe storytelling. The women we once loved felt like echoes of their former selves, and the new additions, despite their potential, remain underused and underdeveloped. Charlotte stands out this season for achieving something the others haven't: believable, grounded, personal growth. But one character's evolution isn't enough to carry an entire ensemble. Until And Just Like That gives all its characters the attention, complexity, and love they deserve, it will continue to feel like a hollow imitation of what once was a revolutionary show. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment on this video. Bye bye!